So basically, again, like all the blueprints are not created equal. This is very much like the free 3D models you can find online. A large chunk of them are bad. Some of these blueprints are made by amateurs, like kind of home enthusiasts. We're doing a great job, but at the same time, they're just not really doing it at a pro level. So here we go. I'm going to kind of scale this up. I'm going to use this to kind of get my reference on. I'm going to open up the channel's layers. I get to poly. I'm just going to bring this down like this. Let's go to the Hypershade. Hypershade's up, and let's map that texture. So my texture's already mapped. I've already got it set up here. So these will be my blueprints. Everything looks good. I'm going to apply the blueprints to the plane like this. Blueprints are on the plane. I had it as a square so there won't be any pixel distortion. Spacebar left click top view. I zoom out a little bit like this, and I'm going to cut this up. So basically I can use the multi-cut tool, and I basically want to just, it doesn't have to be pretty. I just have to trace around the edge. So what am I doing? Delete, delete. There, I've got the edge. I come out here. I don't want to lose that side mirror, so I'm going to go over here like this. I could have probably got through here with the insert edge loop, and I'll go like that. Enter. Next, we do the next one. So I'm just going to repeat the process here, here, and I go enter. And then we just cut across the middle here. So this was actually quite easy, like that, and then I go enter. Right click, object, I move back a little bit, Control D, W on the keyboard, I pull them apart like this, and then I'm going to go right click, face, let's knock these ones out, delete, select this one, Control D, I got it as a component, right click, object, Control D, here's the next one, right click, face, select, delete, select this one, Control D, pull it apart again, and I'm going to go right click face, select, delete, we're almost there. Control, I don't have to Control D it, we'll just, I've got them all. So now right click face, and I'm going to go middle, delete, we've got these. Alright, so next we are looking in a top-down view, so this one looks to be correct. I'm going to sort of center this to the best of my ability. I'm going to go D, and I'm just going to get the pivot sort of close to the center of the object. And let's get in close. I'm going to go just for like the hood emblem of that Lamborghini. Right about here. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go X snap. Let's get it. Control Z. I go D again to close the tool. X to snap to grid. Back it up a little bit. That looks good. All right. Spacebar left click. Perspective. I'm over here. So let's start kind of turning in these things into the correct. So this is how the viewer should have the model set up. This is the Z axis is facing us in this direction right now. So this is Z, and this is we are the audience. So to set this up correctly, we want to go like this, E on the keyboard, and we really want this to be in our front view. So I'm going to come over here. Let me just straighten this up. The headlight should be facing us. 90. Is that right? Yep. And I'm going to go again, X snap, W, X, snap across to the center. That's on the center line. And I'll move it to something like this. That looks okay. This one, I go E on the keyboard. Let's get this upright like this. That'll be 90. And let's go like this. And that will be 90. W. Like this. Generally speaking, like the general way to work would be you work in the positive space. So this is the negative space, this is the positive space. Take the car here, pull it across, E on the keyboard, rotate it down, 90. W, pull it over here like this, one more, E on the keyboard, W, like this, and I'm gonna go kind of flipped. So the front of the car will be at the back of the car, and the back of the car will be at the front of the car. Kind of like this. I'll take this one and flip it because I'm going to be working it from this side. So I'll go to Mesh Display Reverse. That. Alright, so now we got to do the formal setup. So we have to actually check everything and make sure everything's in alignment. So what I want to do is I want to isolate one point on the car, and then I can use that to check the scale. So let's start with the side view. I'll say the front view is good. I'm going to go take this one, W, let's just, I can center pivot. This is just annoying. I'll just kind of pull this back a little bit. And I'd start putting everything on layers. So all of these, if we look in this little, the way that I've got it set up in the channels layers, I want rear view, front view, side view, top view, everything like that. From here, I'm going to go, let's start here. I'm going to go D across, and I'm going to move the center pivot to the front of the car like that. I should be in a right view. I want to be like dead straight on. D on the keyboard, and then down. Spacebar left click perspective, and I can X snap this. So X to the middle, cross like this, and I'm going to eyeball it right now, and then we can see how it works. So I'm going to go. There's the front of the car like that, and then it should meet like about here. So I go back and forth. That's like connecting pretty well. That is doing a pretty good job. Now we check the back. So from the back, no sliding back and forth on Z, just the Y-axis. Inside pull down, does it match up? I'm just checking the rear bumper. And if your blueprints are good, that's actually pretty solid. That looks pretty good. So I'd say that's pretty good. And just like the slide back and forth, we'll say that this is good. So I'm going to say that's good. Next thing I'm going to do is once I start getting these into position, I don't want to move these around once they've been sort of set. Things that I would not want to do is the Z-axis is going to be the killer. Like I can't move it back and forth in Z. Otherwise it comes out of alignment with the main car. So you don't want to touch that. I'm going to move it up just a little bit. I'm going to go D on the keyboard. I'm going to go across, over, and I'm going to center it on this wheel. I'm going to go into a right view. Right view. And am I still pivoting? Nope. I'm going to go D, and I want to get the pivot just at the base of the wheel. So I'm making contact with the ground. Something like this is good. D again, spacebar left click, perspective. I go X, snap down, and now the car is on the ground. So the wheels are on the ground. This feels good. The front feels good. I push this off to the side, so I just want to have it over here. This is fine. I can move the car freely in this direction. This has no effect. It's just the Z-axis which is going to be the problem. So next, I take the front view of the car. I go center pivot. You cannot trust this center pivot, so I'm going to go D. I really want to be in a true front view. I should not be doing this in perspective view. True front, F on the keyboard. We can see that it's hidden there, so let's just kind of move up a little bit. And I'm going to go D. And then just across a little bit like this, like that. Spacebar left click, perspective. Now what I can do is again X snap. So I will go X down to the grid. There, something like that. And then I will go X snap in this direction. It's on the origin. Pull it up. Let's see how it matches up. I'm having issues with this view right here. So this is the rear view. I'll right click, add selected objects, and then turn it off. Like that. what is going on here? So here it is. Let's just do the double check. So I pull it back and forth. It matches up. Yes. Now we look at the other lines and see if they match up. So what I should see would be, is this true? So what should happen, this line right here and this line right here should match that point and that point. That's my goal. So what I do is I pull it back until it makes exact contact with where those lines are going to intersect, which would be about there. And then I push it down. Do they match? They do. Like, so this is actually, I would go through this. I know it's a little bit of a pain to kind of really do this. But if you've got bad blueprints and you're actually going to do a car, it's not worth doing. It's cars a lot of work, and bad blueprints are going to make it miserable work. All right, so this is good. I could do more checks. I would probably check the side mirrors and stuff like that. But let's say this is cool. I'm going to go spacebar, left click, front view. I'm going to go F. I'm going to D. I'm going to move the center pivot to the wheel. So I'm going to go DV. D, and I just want to get it like dead on the wheel, something like that, and I can X snap down, and the car is on the ground. I would have to probably do a little dialing in between the side view and the front view, but they're pretty close at this point. Okay, so do you guys get the general idea of how I'm putting it together? Yes? Are there questions? I'm telling you, I can't explain how powerful like a modeling technique this is. You can really basically do anything if you can get something like this. It's setting it up though. The reference really needs to be accurate or it's not going to work. I'm not going to do the last one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the existing file. So I'm going to go open scene. You guys have the basic idea of how it works. All right, so I end up with this. It's all done. The other things that I would do if we were really doing the car and we wanted to get it into scale would be I would Google the name of the car. Under Wikipedia, most cars have like a brief or general description. It gave me a bumper-to-bumper length of the car in inches. So what I did was I took that measurement and then I changed my grid units into feet here. So each unit here should be a foot. And then what I've done is you're able to create a measurement tool. So I go to create and I can go down to measure tools, distance tool. And all I have to do is take that measurement that I got on Wikipedia. And so this is 16 feet and 2 inches right now. I just have to make this match the measurement inside of Wikipedia. I would if you can get more accurate, I would X snap to the grid. So I would snap this thing to the origin. Snap. Snap. And then just to make sure it's straight, I don't want to have it at some crazy angle. I can pull these back and forth like this, but I should not be like, like this is giving me some weird measurements. Once I would set this up independently of this reference material. So I would basically get this line to the length of the car bumper to bumper. Once that's in place on the grid, I take all of this. I could either group it or combine it, and then I would move the center pivot to the front. I snap it to the first locator, and then I use the scale tool. I pull up, and then the front of the car scales, and when the back of the bumper touches the end of the marker, it's in scale. Does that make sense? I don't want to do it because it's going to take a little time, and we could start modeling. Are there questions? Okay. Again, like you guys should learn how to do this. I take the two of them, we delete it. At this point, I'm going to start making the car. We have time. So let's go over modeling workflow. I've got these, so you see my channels layers. Everything's locked up right now, so I can't, I'm selecting it and nothing's, well, the bottom layer is not locked up. But the other stuff is, it would be the top view right there, it's not locked. But what I can do is we can basically lock everything up, and I can unlock it too so that I can work on it. For now, what I'm going to do is let's start with the top view. I like to work with real estate. That's the way I would sort of say it. And when I talk about real estate, it's as much space as I can possibly get. We're going to be looking at the same space in different views. So if I'm looking at the hood, I'm looking at the hood across here. I'm looking at the hood across here. There's just less real estate. There's just less cubic inches, or inches of descriptive quality on this image than there are here. You're just getting more description here than you are there. I would always lean in that direction where you're getting like a greater amount of information. I would generally go in that direction. That's the one I would work with. So I'm going to turn off the rear view, and let's lock these. I'm going to turn off the front view, and I'm going to turn off the side view, and I'm leaving myself with the top view. Spacebar left click. I'm going to go into a top view like this, and I'm looking down on the car. We're going to be working on this symmetrically. I do not want to be working on this in a front view or perspective view. And I only want to work on half the car because, again, making a car is like a lot of work. So how do we go forwards? It's like sort of like painting by numbers. It's not too bad. I would use the Create Polygon tool, which I have on my shelf right now. That's the Create Polygon tool. It should be, where is it? It used to be under Mesh. I don't think it's there anymore. It is not. It's probably under Mesh Tools. Create Polygon. Yeah, so they've moved it. It's over here. All right, so I've got the Create Polygon tool. I take it out. I don't have to be ultra careful. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to work with the creases in the car, the divisions of metal. So at this point, what I would do, what you guys could do would be I would have a folder of reference material related to this car. I would have pictures of this cars from different angles. I would not just have front views and side views. The specular light on the car, as the light shines on the car, it gives us tons and tons of information. So these secondary sources of information, like the third-person perspective, kind of quarter shot or something, are good to have. So here I go. I'm going to start tracing out the hood. This section right here is basically, this is where the metal divides, going across here and into here. Like this would be my line. So I need to establish that. You have other ones which would be creases where the metal is not separated. It's actually the same piece of metal, but it has a bend in it. So we need to figure out which are creases and which are actual divisions in the metal. So that's kind of what you want to go after. So I've decided to go after the hood. Let's do it. So I'm going to start tracing the hood. I want to keep it as low res as possible. We can add resolution as needed. Don't worry, we can add lots and lots of resolution. I see a minor bend here, so I'm going to give it just one division, and I'm going to take it out to here. I'm going to go like that, and here, maybe one division there. I definitely want to put a loop on this crease, so I definitely want to have a vert on the crease, and then out to the corner, and I hit enter. Right click, vertex. So I could grab this one here and X snap. So we just straighten it up. Grab this one, X snap. That looks pretty good. And now we've got a hood for the car. It's almost done. Spacebar left click, perspective. Not quite. So now what do? Once I've created the hood, I move to the next perspective. So it's sort of like the head. We have to keep moving around the object. I want to keep circling around it, and I want to keep increasing the resolution from different perspectives. I want to change my view, and I want to keep working the resolution of the car up as I move. And I want to keep moving. I do not want to stay in one place. So from here, what do? Now what I'm going to do is we're going to turn on the side view of the car. So I go like this. There's the side. I go spacebar. I probably want to go split screen. So I could probably go like this. I want to keep a perspective open, and I want to work in a side. So I can go right here, right view. So we're in the right side. So I'm looking at something like this. Now I do right click, object. I select the face of the hood. And it's at the origin right now, so it's no longer at the space in place of the hood. The hood is supposed to start about here. That's where it looks to me, like where it's making contact with the bumper. So I pull up like this, and I'm going to put it right about here. The problem is I took the top view. I took the top view of the car, so I had them both selected. This is why we can lock stuff up over here, so I can just lock it up, lock it. And let's try it again. Here we go. Now the hood is moving. That looked a little suspicious. Looks like something like this looks okay. So I've got this up to here. Now I will switch views one more time. So I'm going to go spacebar, left click. I'm going to go into a true top view. Right there. And let's divide this up a little bit more. So what are we going to do? I'm going to go work with the natural divisions in the metal is generally speaking ideal. I'm going to have to cut this. If we start to study this image, you do need to kind of pause and like reflect on what you're about to do. I see curvature here, that this is a curve here. This is a very shallow curve, and there's another curve here. This is not a flat plane. So I'm trying to develop some sort of curve that's going to make this hood. So I need to give myself the geometry to do it with. I use the multi-cut tool. I'm going to work with the mirror to start with, or the light, so I can totally miss. Let's try it again. There we are. I get to the corner of the light. What I can do is I know that there's going to be a division in this metal right here, and there's another division in this metal right here. And I need to basically, they're going to be loops running across them. So I'm going to skip the first one, and I'm going to come to this one right here, something like this, and I want it to be sort of even, and I'm thinking, keeping it low res, let's just keep it to 2 for now, sort of like this. In the form that I'm trying to create here should really be like a ripple. It should think if I drop a rock in the water and you have ripples which mirror each other as they move out of that splash. I see the ripple coming from here, the form on the front of the windshield and the front of the car. So it's not perfect, but it's the general mentality that I want to go after. I go over to here. I want to drop one in the middle now. So I want to break this up. So I'm going to go delete, Control Z, Control-Z. I'm going to go click and totally miss. Control-Z. I got it this time. And now what I want to do is on the second loop that I'm going to drop, I can actually probably drop one here, which means we're going to have to fix the first one up. And I'm trying to create this arc, which is going to mirror like this side and this side. I go across to here. This looks about good. Like, I think this is enough. I've got it divided into 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. It's not in quads. Doesn't have to be. Okay, so from here, now what we're going to do is we're going to start to develop this curve in this view. So I go, let's go right-click vertex. And the way that I would do it is we just start kind of pulling and pushing the verts around. So we've got this first row here. I'm going to take everything. So I just do a sweeping selection across here. Spacebar, left-click. I'm going to go into a right view so you can see it from here and here. What I'll do is let's start to pull it into place. So I go like this, Control click across the bottom, and I'm just sort of treating these as rows. I'm gonna pull everything up and I'm gonna remove a row. I pull everything up and I remove a row. I pull everything up and I remove a row. W, and I'm gonna do it from this view here. So I'm gonna pull up until it matches that curve. There's the curve. So now I remove the second row. Control Z, Control click. Now we'd repeat the process. I pull up and it matches the curve. Mission complete. Control click, and we go one more time, and I pull up, and it should be about here, like that. Now we're starting to get the actual hood coming out of the car. So let's do a check in perspective. Let's see how pretty it looks. Wow, we're almost there. Look at that. Almost done. We have our car coming together. So from here, now what are we going to do? It depends on how you want to work the car. I can take this one piece up and I can bring the resolution way up on it. I would, easily at least double it or triple it from where it's at. Or I can start making more pieces of the car. Depends on how boxy it's going to be, what the resolution of the car is going to be, etc. So I'll cut this one up just a little bit more. So I'll just trace the crease. I missed. And then I'm going to go left click, and then let's do it again. and I left click, and that looks good. All right, so back to the side view. Right click, right view, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to take this piece of geometry here. I'm going to right click object. I'm going to put it on a layer. This just because I can get it out of the way. I need to be able to see what's going on here. So what are we looking at right now? If I'm looking at this, what is it? So I take a moment, I pause, and I study the image. That's what everybody should be doing. So here, I'm looking at the loops, or just the different creases and the divisions in the metal. This right here, if I'm looking at this, we're making this piece of geometry right now. I'm going to go like this. I'm making this piece of geometry right now. If I follow these lines up, this is going to go to the outside. Look at this line here. This goes to the outside of the light. Outside of the light is here. So this is not one of the loops that we need going across here. I turn off our geometry. The next one is this interior right here. This one will go up and across, and it kind of gets lost. So it's becoming difficult to see at this point. This one is the interior. Probably the best shot now is actually a front view. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to mix it up. So I'm going to go spacebar, left click, front view, and I'm going to turn my front view on like this. There's our front view, and I'm going to turn our geometry back on like this. There's our geometry, and look, it kind of overlays the other one. What we can do would be I can go view, shading, x-ray. We can now look through. This is where problems set in. This is where the reference material might not necessarily be matching up. Right click vertex. I see in the top view that this loop is good and it's going straight across, whereas over here not quite as good. Let's see how it works out. So I go W. I'm going to start tracing lines. So this line across the top here is actually supposed to be tracing across this line right here. So I just grab and I pull down, and look, it does match up. There we go. I grab this one and I pull down, and it does match up. I grab this one and I pull down, and it does match up. My car is starting to come together. I pull this one down. I start tracing it across here. I'm going to pull this one down to there. This one looks good. And my hood is starting to come together. Something like that. Like this. A little bit of cleanup in the corner. So as I'm working in the front view, I should really only be pulling up and down on the verts. I should not be pulling side to side, like because it's going to screw it up in the other view. As long as I just go up and down in this view, it will not affect how it's overlaying the blueprints in this view. So let's take a look at my geometry one more time. And this one's going to go down like that. So I go spacebar, left click, perspective. And there's my hood. It's looking better than it did. Starting to come together. We're about at class. Are there questions, thoughts, or concerns? Everybody's okay? Everybody should. I see very few people. Is anybody following along at all? Sort of. Yeah. Like, you can really make anything if you can do this, and it's as simple as paint by numbers. So, all right. I think we're gonna call it. This is it. You guys are good. If you have questions about the final project or about your environment, ask me. I'll be around. Midterm? Yeah, the midterm. Okay. The midterm is the presentation for the final project, which you will be focusing your effort on. Your final project could be mini projects, but there should be some sort of overarching theme or something to that effect.
So I have this idea of making like metal food. And just like doing a lot of like blend texture and putting like.
But we're going to see this in a VR environment.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So what I want you to do is for your presentation, I want you to sell me on User experience. I put on the VR goggles. What do I see? Why is it cool? Da, 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 da.
Okay.
I'm in. So sell me though. I mean, I see
Okay.
it's cool.
Is there a way in which we can grab things or no? It's because I don't know a lot about VR, so I don't know. Like I've barely used Upset in my life.
We'll have like
So-
minimal interaction. This
Okay,
is not
so
a
it's just
Unity. It's
seeing.
not a Unity class. This was
Okay.
like content creation for VR.
Okay.
It's
so-
really, really easy. It's just throw a model in. They make it pretty simple.
No, what I'm saying is like, what is the interaction? The interaction is just seeing. Like there's no doing.
If you just want, if it's as much as just like loading your model in, just to like make it a visual thing, you don't really have to do much. You kind of just plop it into Unity.
And do things move or not really?
It,
Nothing will move unless you make it move. But
you would
in
have to
terms of,
set
like,
animations
yeah.
up. Yeah.
But Unity makes it really, like Unity will handle all the tracking and stuff. Like you don't have to like do any coding.
Mm.
All that stuff is like pretty much built in.